In this video, we'll take a look through the surprising evolution of some of the world's biggest brands, starting with their first ever logos that you've likely never seen before. Get ready to be shocked and surprised at some of these brands and their logo design evolution over time. And here is the very first logo of our first modern day brand. And I have erased the brand name from the upper left and lower left circle space. Now, this brand started in the late 1800s with this design. And this brand was a paper mill to begin with. And a clue here is that the brand today has nothing to do with paper or a fish. The design was freshened up to a cleaner version of the fish logo in 1871. And back then, logo designs were meant to tell a story or convey a deeper meaning. And so illustrative, rich logos were used to visually communicate the brand's mission or their heritage. But in 1898, this design came into being as the brand began to diversify their products. And I've given you the first letter of the brand here, which was N. But then again, many years later in 1965, this black design was born. Now you can see that things are beginning to become more graphic and more simplified. But can you actually guess what this brand is? The language on the first logo was a good hint, because the brand is Nokia. The most recent Nokia logo is considered controversial because it simplifies the brand's identity to a generic modern sans serif font, which has been broken up into different sections. People were just very much attached and familiar with the iconic blue design from the 1980s, and so the new redesign wasn't that well received. Now, I've given you the B for the start of this brand, and this logo was created in 1953. There was a rebrand after this one, but that was purely typographic and it would give away the brand's name. So we move ahead to 1957 when this logo came into being, and this should be a massive clue. This logo was created in the era where logos were still hand-drawn, but colourful mascots and graphic solutions did start to appear alongside illustrative designs. And yes, if you haven't already got it, this is of course Burger King with the 1967 logo design right here. We mainly recognize the 1999 design, but interestingly enough, recently they have reverted back to a logo almost identical to the 1960s version. But why? Well, it was done to mainly tap into nostalgia, reconnect with its heritage, and simplify its brand identity. The redesign aimed to create a more authentic, recognizable look while still differentiating the brand in a crowded market and embracing modern minimalism. And here is the very first logo for brand number 3, and this one might be easier than the previous two. This logo was crafted in 1985, and the design was very simple and graphic for its time. But interestingly, we'll soon see how the brand totally shifted its logo and then almost reverted back to this design once more. But yeah, if I show you this 1998 version, you'll most likely know what this is. And of course, it's Microsoft Windows. But looking at the full spectrum evolution, we can see how the design became more graphic. Then gradients were introduced at a time when computing power allowed such effects to be real. And when those effects became old news and overdone, things reverted back to being graphic and simple. But how are you doing so far in this video in guessing the brands and seeing the logo evolution? Anyway, let's move on to the fourth one because this one is really interesting. Now this logo looks pretty epic for 1934, I'm sure you're going to agree. I have removed the brand name that is usually seen below, but trust me, that typography makes this logo look even more epic. I'll show you later. But this brand made precision optical instruments and began back in 1933. The brand's roots are in Japan, and the brand name is a bit different to what it is today, but it still sounded similar back in 1933. And so here, I've given you the first letter of the 1953 redesign, which was typographic. This C-style character is very similar to the logo as we see today. And so I'm pretty sure that some of you watching will be able to get this one with this clue. The logo was redesigned again in 1956, and amazingly, it's the same today. Yes, it's that iconic red Canon logo that has almost been around for 70 years. Now, that is a definition of a timeless logo indeed. But let's go back to that first design, and here it is in its full glory. and I really just cannot take my eyes away from it. I love its detailed, epic typography, and yes, for today's logo designs, it's a bit too intricate, but I do admire the design for what it is. It's really, really awesome. Canon as a name reflected the benevolence of Canon, the Buddhist goddess of mercy, and embodied the company's vision of creating the best cameras in the world. The logo included the word with an image of Canon with 1,000 arms and flames. Even the backstory is something pretty epic. And here is the logo for brand number 5. Now, this 1889 logo was originally created for the company's predecessor, the Tabulating Machine Company, and it features a more intricate, ornate design. Now, it included the company's name in a serif font, representing the company's early focus on mechanical tabulating machines. It was redesigned 1 year later in 1890 with this pretty cool graphic symbol, and then once more again in 1910. But the fourth redesign, which was created in 1924, holds a big clue here, and that is if you look really, really closely. It's interesting looking at this design because it looks like a crude design a novice to Adobe Illustrator would make nowadays, but of course back then this would have been handcrafted. Now, this design is a clue because of the first letters of each of the 3 words, and that was then taken into the 1946 logo that is of course the IBM logo. We likely all know IBM for their 1962 design with the horizontal blue lines, which has recently been replaced in 2018. The redesign replaced the previous blocky striped style with a cleaner, solid design to represent the company's shift towards cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and data-driven solutions. And then we have this fiery design for brand number 6. This design was created in 2002, and so this brand is relatively new. The brand in 2002 was called Phoenix, but soon transitioned to Firebird, and however today has a different name. There was a redesign in 2004 which I'm sure everyone knows to be Firefox. But let's move forward to the most recent design in 2019. This design aimed to create a more contemporary, cleaner visual identity, one that better aligned with the browser's modern performance-driven features, while maintaining its core values of speed, security, and user-centric design. It also looks more akin to an app icon, which does make a lot of sense when you think about it. You've seen the logo evolution so far, and you've seen how the designs have been changed over time, but it's time for you to level up your skills and your workflow as a logo designer, and that is with this YouTube course video. And also subscribe and like today's video if you did find it useful or enjoyable, and until next time guys, design your future today. Peace.